All right, welcome in, everybody. It is Wednesday time for full court press. Right off the bat, back-to-back parlays. You can't ask for a better start to the season. We get it done again last night. Easier than Monday. I feel like, did we even have a sweat? Was there I can't. Well, my leg was kind of a sweat. NCA&T got close to the number, but in the end, it got there pretty easily. Rob had 60 points in the first half in his. Brian, remind me, what was your leg again? I forget.
We had the under in Mount St. Mary's, West Virginia. That was really never in doubt. They were on pace.
That was a crawl.
They were on pace for the 120s pretty much the whole time. It actually picked up late, but we had enough wiggle room that it was cool. Yeah, I would say that it was easier than the first day. The first day we had, 2 half-point covers in the first one? Yeah, but, North Carolina A&T, they were covering. Correct me if I'm wrong, Trig. Obviously, you were paying more attention to that than I was, but there was only a brief moment where they fell out of the money, and it was kind of late, but they didn't let it get away from them. Credit to
I guess I was more referring to, so that game, the first half was that happens though, and some of these 20, 22, 23 point spreads, and we'll talk about others today. Like, there's usually going to be one half that ends up being sort of like the lopsided half, and it's a good way. I texted Kelly at halftime of the K-State game yesterday, and I was just like, listen, I haven't watched a minute of this game, and I really didn't. I hadn't watched a second. I said, but I'm just looking at the stats and some of the missed shots and stuff, and I was like, I bet this is a good second half bet for K-State, knowing that Greensboro I don't think is a very good team. And of course, they come out, cover the second half, cover the full game, win the half by 30. So it's like, I do feel like you see that oftentimes in some of these like very, very lopsided games. It's probably a relatively good angle. I mean, if you have a 25-point favorite that comes out and is down 2 at halftime, I feel like you have a good chance to cover the second half. So it's not going to work all the time, but go ahead, Brian.
I was going to say, some are saying, what if we hit the parlay of the day every day all season? Some are already asking that question.
We may not be here next year. We may not have to work.
We may have our own island. Yes. By the way, folks, if you have caught this program either of the first 2 days of the season and you have enjoyed the parlay of the day, or if you've just enjoyed the content we've been sharing, please smash that like button. In the chat, they're saying the thumbs up button turns into a basketball when you hit it. That is not my department, so I'm going to take your word for it. But that is fun. It sounds. Thank you, Victoria L, for your comment. And Colin, nice to see you back in the chat, doing well. So yeah, you guys don't forget to smash that like button and comment down any game. It's a short slate today, Trig and Rob. So obviously we'll probably be able to get to more games. So comment down below, go ahead and fire those off, and we'll be sure to answer your questions. Also, don't forget to click subscribe.
I want to get Rob in here, and we'll go right off. You're right, Brian. Not the best slate, not no real feature game, but I suppose we'll call Creighton, South Dakota, the feature game. It's on. It is an 8 p.m. Eastern start. I believe this is on the Peacock app. For if you're wondering which of the 10 apps that you need to use to watch games tonight, this one looks to be on Peacock, and it's got probably our most notable team that's playing today in the Creighton Blue Jays. I have an opinion on South Dakota. Rob is no longer in his chair, which is fine. I'm going to.
Was it something I said?
Yeah, he has decided that he's out.
Nature calls.
It's funny because I think I might have heard his dog bark or something. Here he is. Okay. He's back.
There it is.
Horrible timing, guys.
We have a new dog trainer here with one of our dogs today. And so if you hear like barking or it sounds like a thunderstorm, that is likely what's going on. Mallory's upstairs with the new trainer right now, and we are trying to make our one dog less of an asshole. That is the goal. So we'll see.
Nice.
We'll see if we can do that. He's great. He's great to us. He's a jerk to our other dog. That's the problem. But neither here nor there. Rob is back, and we got to get going. People are filing in, and they want to hear about Creighton, South Dakota. So kick us off here out in Omaha tonight.
Yeah, let's get to South Dakota first, guys. They lose to Utah Tech in overtime the other night, so they've got a game under their belt, like a couple other teams that we'll talk about here today, possibly. And now you play Creighton. It makes me wonder a little bit. I'm going to start with this. South Dakota last year was a guy who bets a lot of Summit League. a very fast-paced team. To see that game at 68-68 at the end of regulation was a little bit of a surprise to me. So I went to the tempo numbers to see, and they are playing a little bit slower here, which doesn't bode well for them against Creighton. Now, my take on Creighton is without Ryan Kalkbrenner, without Nembhard, but especially Kalkbrenner, and with the roster that they've comprised this season heading in, it seems to me like Creighton, which is already an up-tempo, high-scoring team, maybe even a little more up-tempo. So when I bridge those two together, South Dakota trying to play a little bit slower, Creighton maybe playing a little bit quicker just because of the roster construction. Separation could be created fairly easily here by the Creighton Blue Jays. And if that becomes the case, then all of a sudden the number looks a little bit smaller. 29 never looks small to me, so I won't be involved because we don't know how late second half, last 6 minutes, last 5 minutes go. We know how that works in a college hoop, couple of threes, and all of a sudden you were covering all along, you don't cover anymore. But I would think Creighton's the right side here. The total to me has gotten out of range, 168.5, and I'd almost lean towards the under. Now the money's come in on the over, but I think I would lean under here. There were a couple of quotes I read from Greg McDermott, which were, every coach does this, guys, so you got to take it at face value. They all love to preach a little better defense, right? And I see McDermott out there, got a couple of guys incoming this season who are defensive-minded players, and maybe that'll be an attribute of Creighton this season. But for me, I think they'll take advantage of their quickness against a South Dakota team that wants to play a little bit slower. I think their defense probably prevents South Dakota from scoring enough to get this thing up and over the total. So my best lean here would probably be under 168.5. You could, I guess I wouldn't argue anybody off of the South Dakota team total, but I wouldn't trust it as much as I would trust full game under.
I concur with that completely. That would be my lean as well. Right before we got on, I saw that total continue to be bet up, and I would punch back at the market on this one. I talked, good friend of mine, Clint, I think you know him as well, Trigg, lives in South Dakota. He didn't like this team. He didn't like this Coyotes team at all. Thinks they're a mess. Thinks head coach Eric Peterson not maybe long for the position, as a matter of fact. Now, we should point out Creighton does have Gonzaga. I believe it's next week. I believe that would be their next game. But yeah, I don't know. Creighton's going to slow it down a little bit. And, I think the hope is betting an under, Rob, as you kind of alluded to. Creighton's got a big lead. They can sit on it. And then the pace dies over the last 5 minutes. This is a high number. It wasn't now up to 169. So, yeah, I would see how high. My advice to everyone watching live, don't bet it yet. Keep an eye on the board. See how high we go. When you think the market's peaked, come in on the under. That would be my lean as well.
Yeah, so Clinton's great, and Clint actually used to coach basketball at South Dakota. I can't remember which team. I think maybe it was the women's team. I can't remember, but I would trust his opinion on South Dakota basketball. One, two, before I want to give my sort of South Dakota angle, but one thing I find interesting with Creighton is they already know who their next coach is going to be. It's going to be Huss from High Point, who left High Point to basically be the coach in waiting at Creighton. And so, Rob, I'll go back to you before talking about South Dakota. Do you think this Creighton team might start to play more like High Point teams the past couple of years? And the reason that's super interesting is he mostly played slower. With the exception of there were 2 years ago, I think he had Duke Miles, who ended up leaving High Point and going to Oklahoma, who was just an insanely fast player. Didn't matter what you were going to do. You couldn't play slow when you had him because he was it didn't matter what they were going to tell him. Just the way he played was super fast. Last year, at times, I went down, first of all, Cuban Center, nicest place I've ever been. Incredible campus. That arena is the nicest arena I've ever been in. I got to see High Point play in person last year, watched a bunch of their games, and they played a lot slower. So does that kind of do you think McDermott starts to let him sort of coach the team the way he wants to coach it because he's the next coach? Like, is that something that you take into consideration at all?
It always depends how you recruit to it, Adam. If the recruiting continues to be the way it is, then I wouldn't think that happens. Kids come to Creighton to play a certain style. Whether he changes that recruiting process to fit more of what he did at High Point, I think we probably have to watch the recruiting stuff or the transfer portal stuff, right? And generally speaking, kids that go to power conference, I'm gonna insert Creighton as a power conference team, right? Teams that go there want to play certain styles. The slow down stuff in major college basketball doesn't really appeal to kids. So I would think he might have to adapt. And I'll say one last thing here. We talked yesterday about Corey Barnett, right, at Oral Roberts. His entire background, basically, as an assistant coach was slow. And yet he gets to Oral Roberts and he immediately says, we want to play blazing fast. So these guys can change their minds in a heartbeat if McDermott is coaching him to run this team a certain way. I think there's things we can look at, guys, that'll tell a tale here, especially off of this season's results. But I don't know how to answer that question accurately right now, other than say, watch how they play this season, watch how they recruit or what they get from the portal, and then we'll probably have our answer if the coach doesn't tell us himself.
I do hear the echo as well. I'm going to try to figure out like where that's coming from. We don't have a producer back here, so it's like I don't think it's my setup. Someone said Trig has an echo. I don't think it's my setup producing the echo, so we'll try to figure that out. Yeah, just me. We'll try to.
I don't hear an echo, so maybe
Brian doesn't hear an echo. I hear it in my earbuds, just very faintly. We will try to figure out where that's coming from. Yeah. I think what I'll probably start to do when I'm not speaking is mute myself, and maybe you guys can as well. We'll just see who's got the echo, I suppose, because we want to make sure you want to listen to this show. And I would want to listen to it.
Thank you for letting us know.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you for letting us know. And we'll, like I said, we can have we can have the producers jump in, tweak stuff, figure out what it is. But I've never had an echo with this setup. So it says the echo is only on Trig and Rob. Let me see. My echo is turned all the way down. But anyway, we'll power through. We'll figure it out. It's day 3, so we're still working out the kinks as well. So what I'll say about South Dakota, I agree with Clint. I do think that this team is not what they hope to be yet to this point. So I'm going to go back to Monday for a second because I talked about South Dakota. I wanted to bet against this team, and I hedged off the bet. And the reason I hedged off the bet was because I got wind that Utah Tech would have 2 of their best players out, which they did. So I was happy that I hedged off the bet because forget the outcome. I got the info right. Utah Tech was missing 2 of their best players. I did not want to bet on Utah Tech with 2 of their best players out. That being said, they still went into Vermilion, into South Dakota, and beat South Dakota without 2 of their best players. That is very concerning to me. I feel like that's a game that you take Marvel Allen and the other guy that was out off that Utah Tech roster that South Dakota should probably win at home. South Dakota, part of the other reason I went against them was Doetzler. I had a feeling was going to be out, and they had some guys banged up in their exhibitions. He was out. So that's Josiah Doetzler. He's their transfer from St. Louis. I think he's probably the most talented guy on their roster, definitely one of them. If he was out on Monday, I'd be kind of surprised if they play him here 2 days later against a game in a game that you're probably not going to win anyway. So that would be my concern there. So it's tough. It's hard to lay a huge number like that, but I wouldn't want any part of South Dakota without Doetzler on the floor. And they're a team that I think I more or less am going to look to fade until their roster's full strength. So yeah, that's wish I had something better there. But just some info on, in my opinion, I don't see how you could bet South Dakota without him. So okay. Joe Dog says he thinks the feds are tapping in. Yeah, well, it's very possible.
I don't hear it anymore, guys.
Yeah, I don't hear it anymore either. I don't have any info on a fixed game, so I don't think the feds care about the show. But we are We are still trying to win bets, and that's what we're going to continue to do. Jay Buff says we owe him an apology. Yeah, Robert Morris and Iowa played as fast. I wasn't expecting 101 from Iowa. Robert Morris is kind of a mess, I think. That game got out of hand. Go ahead, Brian. Do you want to comment on that?
Yeah, I saw Jay Buff targeted me. I thought that was uncalled for, quite frankly, Jay Buff. Okay, I thought it was very logical to suspect when you go with the coaching change. I think any person would have read that coaching change and suspected there would be a decrease in tempo from the Iowa side. We got it wrong. I mean, I saw that score and I said, well, guess that's not going to be the way it is. But I think here's what's important though, Trig and Rob. Okay, the first game, the read was completely wrong on the coaching change. But last I checked, there's more than one college basketball game in the season. So that I think it's still something that you need to pay attention to moving forward, because I'm not convinced that Iowa's tempo won't decrease overall this season. Oh, Jay Buff is now all of a sudden retreating after I've called him out, I see.
Yeah, I mean, listen.
We love you, Jay Buff.
We watched a full season of McCollum at Drake. It's listen, one game that gets a little bit out of hand against a very inferior opponent, it's really hard to say like that something's going to go a certain way. I'll be interested to see what Iowa looks like when they play like a quality team. That'll be where I think I start to make opinions on maybe how he's going to coach. And Rob texted us last night and said, he may have to speed it up a little bit just to sort of coach to his roster, right? Because like he brings a couple guys in, but he has some guys that are still holdovers that are accustomed to playing a certain way. Maybe it's going to fall somewhere in the middle. I'll go over to Rob. I've got an opinion on this game, but I'll go to Rob first. Jacob Hefner says, are we running it back with Tarleton today, or is LSU going to smack them down? Well, I've got my Tarleton opinion, which I'll save for now. I'll go to Rob first. How are you seeing? Is there any reason to be interested in LSU here?
Well, the head coach certainly is interested in his team, Matt McMahon, this year. He's pleading to the LSU faithful to fill the arena. I have to say, guys, that the addition of Dean Thomas after seeing him at UNLV the past couple of years, to me, is a huge addition. LSU has gone to the portal to get some guys here. I think they're improved, Adam. Now, the Tarleton angle of this for me, and what would keep me off of LSU, is it's LSU's first game out of the box. They played an exhibition game about a week ago where the first half was choppy, but the second half was a 46-point second half with a lot better defensive play. We'll see if that continues into this game. But the teams with a game under their belt, I think, have a little bit of an advantage here. For Tarleton, they want to get these types of games in before they get the conference season. Let's play high-ranking teams, high major teams, and see where we stand. That's probably the one thing that would keep me off of LSU. But I would say in general, I expect LSU to be higher scoring. I think this total is a little bit low at 146.5. I'm looking now as we speak, guys, and it's pushed to 147. So a little movement on the total. That's where my belief would lie in this game, because from what I've read very quickly, and you try to get between the lines because a coach isn't going to tell you everything. But I think if there is one problem or concern of Matt McMahon at this point in time, it would be his defense. I don't think he worries at all about the offense. They were putting on a show the other night. I went back and watched a little bit of the tape with Dean Thomas throwing lobs, et cetera, et cetera. And they've got that type of capability offensively. So for me, it would be over if you can still find the 146.5, and they're not plentiful anymore. I'd look to this game to get over. I think Tarleton, again, having 140-minute session already in the books, offense probably runs a little bit smoother here.
Yeah, I knew I was going to get myself on that. I said, anytime you mute yourself, I said, I'll be the one that messes it up. It never fails because I typically don't mute myself. And then as soon as I do, I forget. But this one, the line is getting smoked right now. Not surprised about that. This, listen, I'm not going to put it. I'm not going to sell something 3 points off what I played it at. So I will just let you know I played Tarleton State at plus 18.5. Benefit of you being a client, you would have known that already before the show. This is down. Someone's going to probably play back at this a little bit. This is down to 15.5, 16.5. I see a 17 some places. I had a feeling it would move like that. I made the number 15.5 here. And so I'll talk about the Tarleton State side of the coin. I thought they looked great the other night. And that 20-point finals, very, very deceiving. They pretty much hung with SMU the whole way. That was a 7-point game, 8-point game the whole way. I felt like they matched SMU's intensity. SMU is a very good basketball team. They've got some shot makers, and there was nothing about Tarleton's effort that didn't suggest that they were absolutely 100% the right side in that game. I was right about Freddie Hicks playing a big part. I believe he had 15 points. And I'll tell you where that game got out of hand and the way it got to 20, Hicks fouled out and SMU went into this zone. And Tarleton, without Hicks, and then the fact that they went into a zone, Tarleton just couldn't make a shot last 5 minutes of the game. That game went from like a 6 or 7 point game to a 20-point game in literally the last 5 minutes of the game because SMU threw the zone at them and then their best player fouled out. So I think you can give them a pass there. Like if you look at that and say, oh, well, yes, Tarleton covered, but it was a 21-point spread. You know, they barely covered. Yeah, that's true. But that would have been a horrific beat if they didn't cover that the way that game went. Reason I would like them here again, LSU is not going to be able to do that defensively. This does not look like it's going to be a very good defensive team. Now, when I say that in the context of the SEC. Obviously, Tarleton's not an SEC team, but I that's where I think they're going to get. I think you're going to see some triple digits dropped on LSU once we get to SEC play this year. I'll let you two chime in on this. I heard they're not really spending money on basketball. Like NIL money is not really trickling into basketball anymore, and people are a little bit upset at that. But I guess when you spend as much money as they did on football and coaches and buyouts and stuff, maybe you don't have it for basketball. Who knows? But they're not spending what the rest of the conference is, and many are saying that that's why they're at the bottom. So, Brian, I'll go to you. What did you have to add here?
Well, yeah, they're $54.5 million in the hole, the athletic program, from what I understand right now. So, I mean, yeah, that's less for everybody, So, look, I wanted to summarize with this. To my right, I'm hearing calls for the over. To my left, I'm hearing calls for Tarleton. We're talking about Rob brought up concerns with LSU's defense. Trig, you echoed that. You talked about the number coming down. As I'm listening to you guys and I'm looking at the game, I'm thinking, Tarleton State has obviously improved offensively relative to last year. How could you not? They were a bad offense team. Tarleton State team total over 64.5 looks appealing to me as I digest and continue to handicap this game more. I think they can get to that number.
Yeah, Brian, I want to jump in on that because last year, so the reason that they were so bad offensively last year is their entire offense was set up to run through Freddie Hicks, around Freddie Hicks, and he got hurt in the preseason, and he really, that's why he's back. So the reason he's even on the court is because he essentially missed his whole senior year. I think it was his normal senior year. Only played about 6 games because he was just hurt all year. Came back, got like 3 games in, was hurt. I think he played 5 or 6 games all year. So he right now he's getting the Tyon Grant Foster treatment where that he's not even back for good, but they're allowing him to play while they appeal something with the NCAA. I have a feeling they will win just because if they did it for Grant Foster at Gonzaga, I don't see why, how that works, right? Like once they do it for one guy, it's like opens Pandora's box. I don't think they're going to tell him that he can't play, especially with how many games he's missed over the course of his career. So that's why the offense was so bad last year is like they really never had their focal point. Now you bring him back. He lives at the free throw line, so that's always good for a team total over or an over. And then you've got guys like Dior Johnson, who is an really solid offensive player that they bring in, former Pitt guy. He was at UCF for a year. Cam McDowell's a D2 guy that they got that's a scorer. So I think you're going to see that Tarleton SMU total was 142 or something. It soared over on Monday. I think you're going to see quite a few more overs when it comes to Tarleton games until the market sort of catches up. So I'm going to see where these I'm watching the board move. I'm not going to throw this in the parlay yet because I don't really want to take a bad number, but we'll see if it comes back by the end of the show at all. But I did play it. And I took 18.5, maybe wait and see if it comes back, because sometimes these games bounce back and forth throughout the day. All right. We're going to have plenty. We're 24 minutes in. We're only through 2 games. So I'm not worried about having enough to get through in the show. Let me go over to the chat and see what we've got here. I see a bunch of them. I want to go to. All right, let's go to this one, and if people are asking about this one, and I'll go to Rob first, see if he has an opinion here. A battle in the state of New Jersey tonight. People want to know. Ty Gregorius wants to know. Rider covers the 20.5 against Rutgers. Prove me wrong. Well, Ty, myself, you, and it looks like some others kind of feel that way, because that one has also gotten hit pretty good. I'm seeing 18.5. I see 19 some places. So I forget I'll throw it to whoever sort of follows Rutgers in the Big Ten. But give me the Rutgers side, and I'll talk about Rider after you.
You want me, Brian? I'll get in there real quick, guys. And of course, coming from the totals perspective, as I always do, whenever I see the name, wherever he's been throughout his coaching career, Steve Peichel, it immediately sounds the alarm bells for defense and under. Rutgers probably won't be the most potent of offensive teams this year. Probably leaning a little bit more on the defensive side. Again, I'm somewhat close to the situation here in PA, so we get a lot of New Jersey stuff. But the Rider side is probably, and Adam, I'm going to let you have that. It's probably the more interesting one here. I don't know. First of all, let me just talk from a handicapping philosophy standpoint. When you have a game side of minus 19 and a total where we're at here of like 139.5, it correlates kind of to dog and under if you like the underside. So for me, it would probably be Rider if I was playing side. However, I would almost prefer to play the Rutgers team total themselves under in this particular instance. They're a 19.5 point favorite, which means they're going to obviously have the much larger team total in this instance. And if I look at it from the lens that I see this particular game, Rutgers being defensive minded, Rider being fairly slow, methodical paced team, I don't know that Rutgers can get to the number. And I'm going to get the exact team total right now so we can give it to you live. You're talking about 79.5 for Rutgers. To get to 80, to me, seems like a far-fetched hypothesis, so to speak, right? Conclusion. I don't think they get to 79.5 here, guys. And again, for somewhat simplistic reasons. But again, sometimes handicapping can be that simple. You've got a defensive-minded head coach with a team that really doesn't have a whole group full of scorers against a team that plays pedestrian-style pace. It's an in-state battle. I think you get that energy, especially out of Rider, right? I mean, it's Rider playing a Big Ten team, so you're going to get 40 full minutes out of them. I would see this as a Rutgers team total under 79.5. That would be my best look.
Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, I wanted to throw something to you, Trick, because I know you were going to make a case for the. I don't know, maybe you weren't going to make a case for the Rider side.
No, you're right. You're right.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I'm just you and I think alike. Obviously, look, a game like this, I want to make a case for the dog as well. But my thought is, am I seeing this correctly? I know they were playing Virginia. I know they were not a prolific 3-point team last year either. Rider only attempted 12 threes in the year of our Lord 2025. Guys, you got to get more shots up from behind the arc if you want to win or at least compete. That would be my one concern with the Rider side here. You can't only shoot 12 threes in a college basketball game in the year 2025.
Yeah, so a couple things here. And so again, I'll just I'll start by saying, like, before I get into the Rider angle, I want to talk about Peichel for a second and sort of some of the stuff Rob said. Like, you got to understand that last year he kind of sold his soul a little bit, right? He had it was like Ace Bailey Ace Bailey, Dylan Harper do not fit what Steve Peichel really wants to do. But like, you can't turn down 2 first-round NBA guys, like you just can't. So it's like, and essentially what that Rider team was last year was like those two, a very inferior roster. And it's like Pikel's teams don't really like, he basically had to make concessions for those two. And it was not a very good basketball team outside of those two players. Now, this team is certainly not going to be better than that. But I think we're at the start of him sort of rebuilding to play the style of basketball that he's had success with throughout his career, which is going to be like very defense first, defense oriented. So, Rob, your team total makes a lot of sense because I don't think that this is going to be a very good offensive team at all in Rutgers. And I'd almost be willing to say, so the point I'll make about the Rider side, this has been Rider basketball. They're a MAC school. I've been watching Rider since, I was a little kid. They've always been in the same conference as Siena. Badgett has been their coach for 14 years now. And it's always sort of the same thing for Rider. They have a couple of guys that can really ball. It's usually a couple of guards that just like almost kind of carry the team. It's always like one or two guys that carry the team. And they're usually like, I don't think they've made an NCAA tournament since the early 90s. They're never the best. They're rarely the worst. And last year for a while, they were in the basement of the MAC, and it was like bad luck more than they were a bad team. I think their first 4 MAC games, they lost by like 1 possession. Like they just had a really poor string of results, bunch of close losses, and they actually battled back from that. I think they battled back to middle of the pack. Reason I bring that up is I think they might be a little bit underrated in the context of the MAC this year. Now, they very well may finish near the bottom, but as we talked about yesterday with Mount St. Mary's, it's because there's a lot of other good teams in the MAC this year. The MAC wasn't as good last year as it was this year. So a team like Rider being projected to be 10th or 11th it's like, I mean, it very well could happen, but it doesn't mean that they're like a worse team than they were last year. It just means everyone else ahead of them is better. 3 guards. Now, Aaron Kidd, that's our friend and Virginia insider, we'll call him, Brian. That's our buddy.
He's very upset with me right now because of the video I posted about the football team. He texted me he was very, very upset about what I had to say. Look, I already cashed him over 6.5 wins. What do you want from me?
He's a Virginia season ticket holder. He's at most football games, most basketball games. He said he was really impressed with Flash Burton in that game against Virginia. And I would say, like, when you look at the guards in this game next to the Rutgers guards, Rider's guards, I don't know if they're better, but they're certainly on par. The guy I was really excited about last year, Zion Cruz, was a community college guy, and someone in the MAC that's close to the MAC conference was like, look out for him. Like he wasn't eligible at the beginning of the year. He kind of like joined the team December, January. Like he showed flashes, but I think now having like a full year with the team, coming out and like, not having the scramble of like, will I play? Will I not play? I don't even know if he was on the roster last year at the beginning of like league play or the season. So like these guards are close. They're close. Like Rutgers guards, Riders guards. I think that could be an even matchup. You're telling me Rutgers bigs are good enough to push this to a 20-point margin? I don't think so. So I took Rider plus 20, and now it's down in the 18 and a half range. I think Rider is going to play. I think this is going to be a game. Go ahead, Rob.
I'll just make one more generic point about this game, guys. And just say, Brian talked about the 12 threes that Rider put up the other night. And I do this a lot in football handicapping. It's once, they play once a week. Here we get something every couple of days. Sometimes teams are playing 3 times a week. The defense that Rider just faced, it's not Tony Bennett anymore, right? It's Ryan Odom and that VCU pressure, run, attack. And they gave up 34 free throw attempts the other night to Virginia. This is an opposite style defense. And to your point, Adam, it had to be killing Steve Pikiell last year to watch that Rutgers defense just not even exist in most Big Ten games. I mean, they were really good for about half the season. Couple of injuries to those guys. Bailey and Harper kept them out a little bit, and it just went south in a hurry, and they never played D again. It's a little bit different now. You're not going to get the pace that you got out of Virginia Rider the other night because Virginia forced it. that game, guys, only hit 140. Virginia scored 87 and it hit 140. So this total, the Rutgers team total, et cetera, you start adding all these things up, the contrasting styles that Ryder will face tonight, they'll probably be a hair more comfortable with, but they won't be going at that track meet type pace. So again, either one of those looks I think is sufficient here.
Yeah, and just to really speak quickly to the lack of like 3-point shooting, I mean, I think that's like, Burton is a guy that I think is more comfortable sort of going off the dribble. The guy that's going to probably shoot the majority of the threes would be Cruz, but like again, I just think that might be more the makeup of this team. And there was times last year where Ryder just hoisted threes and was awful. So you got to wonder if Badgett's just like, hey, let's not do that this year. Let's not just jack up threes. I think I bet them in a game like this last year against Iowa, and I think they were 1 for 20 from 3 and obviously did not cover. So, that might be by design. Like, hey, let's chill on the, just firing up 3-point shots. Good conversation, though. This is for a day where there's not like these big time marquee games. I feel like we've gotten into, a couple good discussions so far. And I'll be locking one of those in. I just don't know which one. I'm going to wait till the end of the show. But we are at the 35-minute mark, so we got about 25 minutes left. And the people are going to want to start knowing what the parlay is going to look like. So, Brian, I'm going to go to you because I think you kind of know what your leg's going to be. And I know that the folks want to hear about some Indiana Hoosiers basketball. So take it away. Alabama A&M in Bloomington tonight. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, this would be from the if it ain't broke, don't fix it category. My contribution to the parlay each of the first 2 days has been a total. It has been a total where we've punched back at the market, and we're going to keep doing that same thing here, Trig, obviously. But by the way, I'm going to make this point again. What was the game? Was it the Florida State game? The last 2 days, there have been games where the over has taken a ton of money, and it didn't matter if you bet this thing at 6:30 in the morning or 6:30 at night. It just flies over. That Florida State,
he ran it up. That Florida State, he ran it up. That Florida State coach ran it up last night.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just bringing that up to say, hey, again, early in the season, sometimes these odds makers are hanging bad totals. But in this case, what we're doing, I focused on with my portion of the parlay today is totals where the numbers moved, and I disagree with that move. And I disagree with the overtaking money in this Alabama A&M Indiana game. I'm going to go under 146.5. You can get that number right now as of this recording at both DraftKings and FanDuel, Trig. So I think that's a fair number to give to the people. A little juiced to the under now, which is interesting. So I don't know if we're going to get any higher than 146.5. I know we didn't get any higher than the number I gave yesterday on Mount St. Mary's WVU, which was good. But look, guys, we talk about these coaching changes and what it means. Sometimes, it's not just the preferred tempo they played. Obviously, with Iowa, it was a wrong read. But, when you've got new personnel, it takes a long time sometimes to, it takes a while, not necessarily a long time, but it takes a while to kind of fire on full cylinders. And I'm not sure Indiana's offense is going to be firing on full cylinders, at least in this one. And then you look at the Alabama A&M team. They've got a new coach as well coming over from Grambling. Grambling played slow. Rob said it yesterday. 140 is a number that people look at a lot and say, oh, that's not that hard to get to. Well, we're looking at, a little over 140 now, and I think that number is going to be hard to get to. So we're going to go under Alabama, A&M, Indiana, 146.5 for my leg of the parlay.
Love it. I'm going to keep moving on because there's a couple more games I want to get to. I'm going to go to my guy, Ethan, who we may see this weekend. I think he might come to the Bowling Green game with us. So shout out, Ethan. He wants to know thoughts on Marquette. He's leaning the dog. Quick turnaround. Has Indiana, is that IU's, that's Marquette, Indiana coming up over the weekend? I think he's, that sounds about right. Not sure if they run this one up. Jay Buff asking about the same game from a totals perspective. I don't have much of an opinion here, so I guess I'll go to Rob. Maybe I'll go to Rob for this one. Do you have a Marquette Southern take at all for us or anything for Ethan or Buff on this one?
I'm going to give you, my niece happens to date a Marquette alum who
Love this.
hangs near
This
the
is what we
program a little bit. So during the season, I would expect that I'll get better, or at least little tidbits on Marquette as it goes along. But I did text last night just to see if I could get a feel for things on this particular game. And there's really nothing that I can point to here, guys, that he said to me that would push me toward Marquette, towards Southern. We see a huge line move here from 21 to 25.5. A lot of times these SWAC teams are just so overmatched in these money games. Take the money and run, so to speak. Shout out to Steve Miller Band. So I don't have a really good piece of news to give to the audience here today, but I guarantee that during the season we'll have some pretty good Marquette stuff. I kind of talked with this guy last year a little bit and found myself to the winner's circle in a few instances. This just doesn't happen to be one of them, although the market seems like they know what's going to happen already.
And over too. It's both the favorite and over. So we've given out multiple team total leans here on the. I don't know. Maybe if you like Marquette, you go Marquette team total over, because obviously if you're going to cover a big number like that, Rob, what are you going to do? You're going to score a lot of points.
Right.
And Rob, again, another point you want to file away, not necessarily maybe use it tonight, because obviously the season is only a few days old. But these SWAC teams, Rob makes the point about them. The horrible non-conference schedule they have to endure when it's all road games. When we get a few games deeper in, remember, a lot of these teams are playing their 5th, 6th consecutive road game. That is something you always want to make note with those teams, because eventually that gas tank runs on E.
Hey, don't tell that to Bethune-Cookman, though.
Oh.
Don't tell that to Bethune-Cookman.
No.
They almost went in and beat Auburn in Auburn the other night. An incredible scene at the end of that game, fouling a half-court shooter to put that in overtime. Stephen Pearl announcing his arrival in Auburn. That gem right there.
I believe Bethune-Cookman has one of the more well-regarded marching bands. I'm going to have to check that out here while we break down the next game. I believe Bethune. I believe they're well-regarded there.
Do you know who their head coach is?
Not offhand.
It's Reggie Theus. It's
Reggie Theus,
who has had. Listen, Reggie Theus has had success with, like, I feel like Rob, help me out, because I know wasn't he at like a New Mexico State, or he's been at some programs where he's had like success and wasn't expected to have success maybe. So
yeah, it's so true, players. Guys. And the one thing that runs through Reggie Theus' philosophy dates all the way back to, I mean, if you're old enough to go back, you remember the 77 UNLV running Rebels, and Reggie Theus has never let that philosophy go. Everywhere he goes, it's high scoring. Everywhere he goes, it's fast paced. All stems from when he played for Tark. So, I mean, if you're going to take a look at one of these teams, and again, we've mentioned a bunch of them with philosophical changes in tempo, but if you're going to file one away for lower mid-major teams like Bethune-Cookman, that would be one to file away. Take a check on their overs. I'm going to go back, guys. Did that game go over the total the other night? It had to, right? It was an overtime game, 95-90. So 185 points. But I think in regulation it was over as well, because I remember, I think I texted you guys, and I said, is Stephen Pearl actually going to lose to Bethune-Cookman? And he almost did. So, that particular team will be a high-scoring team throughout. And like we've said a couple of times here, these SWAC teams, I think, if I remember right, Johnny Jones used to play a really hard schedule all the time, be like 0-9 coming in because he played such a difficult schedule of top high major teams. So these SWAC teams just tend to get buried in games like this.
Yeah, they have some recognizable names on this roster. He's basically got a bunch of transfers from other schools, but like there's some recognizable names on the roster for Bethune, and they're not really projected at the top of that league. They're more like 3rd, 4th, 5th in most projections. They might be a team you can make some coin with this year, especially once you get to like conference play, because as Rob said, like they're probably going to take their beating a couple of different times. They play a schedule full of bye games. So once they get to conference play, though, that might be a team to look at. We'll get back to
The game did go over in regulation, by the way. I just checked what Rob was saying. Just to clarify, that it was 81-81 at the end of regulation, the Bethune-Cookman Auburn game. So it went slightly over in regulation. I think the greatest Sacramento King of all time is Mitch Richmond, personally.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's absolutely. I think I had like a Kings starter jacket in like 9th grade. Just because that team was like Jason Williams, or look, that crew with Jason Williams and just
remember, I held up a party in college. We had the sorority was coming over across the street. They're like, "Can we get this party started?" It was the Lakers-Kings game. It was the infamous game where Shaq was sent to the free throw line like 800 times. It was that game. I'll never forget that game where I was.
Maybe no team in history has gotten screwed maybe worse than that Kings team did that year. But we digress. Brian, you want to throw a little promo out for us? Because we haven't really we got to promo the site. My promo is I just gave you 2 plays that I beat the number on by like 2 points. So if you were my client, you would already have had those plays. And I will just disclose Ryder and Tarleton were both plays of mine today. Put them up earlier. I got Ryder plus 20 and Tarleton plus 18.5. So that's my promo for myself. Go ahead. What's going on the site?
Well, I could talk about the site. Obviously, with the site, we're in the football season. The Ultimate Football Pass is a good idea if you want to lock in with any of us long term. We all do football. The Ultimate Football Pass for less than $35 per week. You get the rest of the football season, all the way through the National Championship and Super Bowl. So there you go. That is one way. Of course, the Weekend Warrior Pass is become a very popular option at WagerTalk.com. Just $49 gets you any handicapper of your choice. Saturdays, college football cards, Sundays, NFL, and as a free bonus, we throw in Monday Night Football. I will point out shamelessly, Trig, did go 3-0 yesterday on the board. We swept the alma mater, Ohio U. Thank you to everyone who joined me for $5 Tuesday. Ohio U, their much maligned special teams was the difference. Did not have that on my bingo card or in the handicap, Rob, that OU would win that game via special teams, but they did. Just covered. We got the best of the number there. I played OU at -2. And just to show you how busy my day was yesterday, not only was I sweating out the alma mater, not only was I sweating out our 3-team parlay, but it all started in the afternoon. I had to sweat out Bayern Munich getting a red card. Down a man, Trig. We had a 2-goal lead, and they held on to beat PSG in the Champions League. So we went 2 for 2 on the pitch as well. So you can head on over to my page. I don't have anything officially locked in, but by the time many of you are catching this on replay, that is, there will likely be college basketball for sale.
Trackstar, I agree with you. He says, hey, the SWAC will win a game against one of the bigger universities this year. Don't disrespect the conference. I agree with you. I think this is as good as the SWAC has been in a while. In terms of like the top 7 or 8 teams are much better than I think has been in a while. Like it's definitely like one of the better years for the conference. And who knows, maybe Alabama and A&M will grind that game to a halt for BP and show something in Bloomington tonight.
I'd also say real quick, Adam, I mean, Bethune-Cookman is back on the card tomorrow against Miami of Florida in an in-state game. If Bethune could take Auburn to overtime, certainly Miami of Florida could be in jeopardy here, the shambles of a program that they've become since Jim Larinaga left last year or checked out last year. So we don't want to disrespect the SWAC. We're just saying, and for general purposes, over the years, SWAC teams take these paychecks and get buried. It may not happen all the time this season, but it's a good rule of thumb.
Go ahead, BP.
Well, I'm glad you yourself. Yes, that helps. I'm glad you clarified that. We're not disrespectful. Has anyone ever respected anyone according to anyone anymore in the year 2025? We're not disrespecting the SWAC. We're simply pointing out the fact that these teams play an ungodly amount of road games in the non-conference, and you should be aware of that. That's all we're saying. And also, Mitch Richmond definitely played for the Sacramento Kings, guys. Please just go to
betting angles. That's what we're here for, Brian.
Yes,
betting angles.
Go to Wikipedia.com. They will give you the answer to that. It's a valuable resource.
We got about 10 minutes left on the show, so fire off. If you want a couple of games that we haven't talked about yet, fire them in the chat. We'll get to at least 1 or 2 more. While we're kind of figuring out what the next game we're going to talk about is, I am going to decide which one of these I want to put in the parlay. So I'm basically just going to take whatever play I've already made that has the more playable number right now. And I will say, I'll say, let's see. Is there, what are you guys seeing for, is there 17s out there for Tarleton? And is there 19s out there for Ryder? I'm trying to figure out which, I'm using the odds.
Let's bring it up.
Screen, but
Let's bring it up.
Okay, just close this out.
Odds logic. Let's get there.
If any of those like is, I think there's actually quite a few 17s on Tarleton, so I'm going to use that. So I'll go Tarleton State plus 17 for my parlay leg. Again, I played it at 18.5, but I'm seeing. I do think that might come back throughout the day, so you could potentially wait there. But I do see like 3 or 4 books have gone back to 17, and that's kind of where I expect it to settle in. So that's what I'm going to use for my leg of the parlay, and I'll lock that in. Tarleton State plus 17. And now, since we got 10 minutes left, I'm just going to give Rob the floor to throw a game out there and lock in his leg of the parlay.
Yeah, let's do that first, Adam, because my choices of 2 that we've already talked about, the LSU game potentially over with Tarleton, but since you're on that game, we don't want to have to win 2 ends of that ball game. So I'll play what we talked about earlier, and we've lost the hook on this one. I'm searching, and there are 79s out there that are plentiful. So I'm going to play the Rutgers team total under the 79 points. We had 79.5 when we started talking. They continue to bash this total down, down, down. And the Rutgers team total actually, guys, opened at 81.5, now down to 79. But I still think that's a good number to play here. So I'll use that as the third leg of the parlay, which is Rutgers team total under 79 points. Guys, I'll look real quickly here for us and I don't have a play on the game, but I'll just, give a little on the Temple Delaware State game here. It's something that's close to my backyard. Temple, Adam Fisher, you take over these programs, guys, and you try to build a program, and he walks in, he gets 16 wins, comes in the next year, he gets 17 wins. Things are going good. We're getting better and better. And then he loses 10 players. Not only his 5 starters, but his next 5 players. And so you got 10 guys missing off of a 17-win team, and it leaves Temple in this predicament: 2 returning starters, a 3rd-team reserve, a walk-on, and 11 new players. We've talked a lot the first 3 days about cohesion, and this is, Trig, I know we talked about this a few weeks back when we were discussing the format of the show and whatnot, but just correlate it to what John Calipari used to have to do with 5 new incoming freshmen every single year, and it took him a while. And now you get that about 80 to 90 times over across the country. Coaches dealing with all new starters. It's going to be tough for Adam Fisher this year. He's got some backcourt talent, got a little bit of rim protector, but there's not a lot of depth on this team. Let me rephrase. There's not a lot of quality depth on this team. So when they go to the bench, it's going to be a little difficult, at least early on for Temple. Delaware State, almost the same scenario, guys. Stan Waterman got a contract extension. Going to be his 4th year at Delaware State, but he got the extension because he increased the win total on this team. They put together back-to-back seasons with a win total that hadn't been surpassed in 30 years. And so Delaware State becomes a team now that you think is on the rise. However, he lost all 5 of his starters. 3 of them were all MEAC players. Tough to overcome. Go to last year, both of these teams played high tempo, 78 points a game they each averaged. You'd expect high tempo here, but I don't know what the quality of offense is going to be. All that being said, and I'll say it again because I think I said it the other day, just because you're missing or trying to get cohesive with a new offense, I think defense suffers as well. In basketball, when you play open floor style, which these two do, assignments get blown all over the court, layups, dunks, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So tough for me to play it either way. I know the market likes Delaware State a little bit. We'll see how this goes and which one of these 2 coaches who actually have done a good job rebuilding are now faced with another rebuild after they've already been there a few years.
Yeah, I want to, we've got about 4 minutes left. So I want to just quick touch on a couple of the the games out west tonight. I'll just really quick talk about South Carolina Upstate and Fresno State. So far, once again, last night, NCA&T, they were one of the teams we talked about that had some of the, shenanigans going on last year with guys getting kicked off the team. They covered. I think those teams are like 3-0 now. And Fresno State was one of the ones last year that had guys kicked off and actually banned from ever playing college basketball again. I believe 3 players were found guilty of like game fixing or whatever on that team. So my number is right in line with where the market is at 9 and at 9.5. But I don't think SC Upstate's going to be very good this year. I have them finishing near the bottom of their league. They got to go all the way out to Fresno. So that was one where you might be able to talk me into a 9.5 on Fresno State. I think you're on the right side of the number there. I don't think I would want 10.5 or 11, but I think if you got me single digits, I might be willing to lay with Fresno State. Rob, did you want to throw some what you have quick out on that Eastern Washington?
Yeah, I'll say really game? Quick here, guys. We'll just call this quick notes because I watched EWU against UCLA the other night. They looked really good. 80-74, UCLA got the win, but Eastern Washington was gritty. They were in that game the whole way. Looked at the board tonight, see them catching 7 off the opener, and now it's up to 9. And in this instance, Adam, I'll just defer to you because I don't have the info. The only reason I can see for a 2-point increase in this line is when I checked out Loyola Marymount's box from the other night. Tanner Thomas, the kid from Sacred Heart, didn't play in that game. And now when I see Loyola moving 2 points up against a team that played UCLA to within 6, I ask myself, why is that? And maybe Tanner Thomas is going to play tonight. I'll have to look into it a little further, but that's the only reason I can see betting LMU, who had a 137-54 win over Lincoln University of California, because we have one of those in Pennsylvania too.
I chuckle because Tanner Thomas, coming from the MAC conference at Sacred Heart, was like a notorious game time decision guy. Like there'd be times where he was in, there'd be times where he was out. So it would not surprise me if he's randomly back tonight. And he is a very good player. He was the best player on that Sacred Heart team. I think he will be a nice contributor to Loyola Marymount. Brian, did you want to just jump in here before we call it a day?
No, well, yeah, I will. As a matter of fact, just a reminder, guys, check all of us out. WT.buzz/AT, WT.buzz/RV, WT.buzz/BP for all of our plays. We thank you all for watching the program here over the last hour. Remember, we are live Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern. That is Monday through Friday. And Trig and I will be traveling around the Midwest this weekend, if anything, in the area. I believe it is Toledo up to East Lansing, back down through the Toledo area through Bowling Green. So 3 games in about 24 hours. If anyone's in the area, come feel free to say hi. You know what we look like, obviously. And we're just going to keep on keeping on.
Yeah.
You want to review the parlay of the day one more time, because that is certainly, I know, what people are tuning in for. As we look to make it 3 for 3 to start the season.
It's what the people are coming for at this point. We've won them both. So on the year, a great start. I guess our if you would call it our best bets for the show. That's they're 6-0. We've hit the 3-teamer twice now, and so we're gonna try to do the unprecedented and hit 3 straight 3-teamers. I don't think TB, Ryan Leonard, and myself hit 3 straight 3-teamers at any point during the baseball season. So we can potentially make that happen today. It's another just everything was -110 when I looked, so we'll call it 6-1. Obviously, shop around. Brian is going with the under in Alabama A&M Indiana. That's a full game under. We have a full game team total under for Rob Vino on the Rutgers team total under 79. That would be the Rutgers Rider game. And then I will go with Tarleton State plus 17. So that's your 3-teamer. You've got Tarleton State plus 17, Rutgers team total under 79, and then Alabama A&M Indiana under 146.5. Can we get it done? Can we do? You know what? If we hit 3 of these, I need the WagerTalk producers to put together like a montage. I want the fire, like the who's hot thing. I want the whole treatment if we hit 3 of these in a row.
One last point from me. I will apologize. We do try to leave no stone unturned, but I do apologize. We didn't give out that Cal State Northridge women's first half spread last night. That would have been a nice winner. I don't know if you saw that. Bethesda throwing up the goose egg in the first half. That was unbelievable. Yeah.
All right, we're out. It's 10:59. I told him I'd be off before 11, so we're going to leave you guys. We'll see you in the morning, 10 a.m. tomorrow for more Full Court Press.
You're ready to cash some tickets with us here on Wednesday. We have a decent slate
A small slate of action, but a good slate of action, Andrew. Let's bring him in. The man
wrapped it
Yeah.
up. Not bad.
Yeah.
Not bad
Yeah,
show.
pretty good.
Kind of weird.
Speaking of you, Prez, who do you like in Utah?
They've played in shots on net at the end of the second period. The Leafs were outshot by Pittsburgh 20-37. Isn't that where every Leaf game Ice X? Not necessarily. The Leafs played
losing to the Sabres. Honestly, I can't lay the vig with Washington here. I just can't. I can't find a like I said, the Blues would only for me if I could get them a little bit higher, then I likely will take it. I'm just looking to see what. So if anyone was looking for like an end picks for free on Sunday, by taking his